It was supposed to be just another reality TV taping. Lights, makeup, and routine drama. But what no one expected was a series of leaked messages that would send the entire set spiraling into chaos. Camron's private text to Chrissy surfaced, just minutes before filming began. And within seconds, whispers turned to gasps, and gasps turned into a scene so explosive that producers had to shut everything down. Yes, shut it down mid-shoot. According to insider sources, Jim Jones caught a glimpse of the messages backstage, and what he saw shattered more than just trust. It wasn't just the content of the texts, but the timing, the tone, and the emotional weight they carried. Texts that hinted at late-night conversations, old feelings, and unresolved tension that dated back years. Jim snapped, on camera, in front of cast and crew, and walked straight off set without a single word. Chrissy, blindsided, broke down moments. Later, tears, confusion, and betrayal painted across her face. Castmates tried to comfort her, but the damage was done. And now, the internet is on fire. Fans are divided, and one of reality TV's most iconic couples may be facing the final breaking point. You won't believe what those texts revealed, or who leaked them. The room was buzzing with energy. Producers moved fast, makeup artists dabbed foreheads, and cast members casually sipped drinks between takes. But behind the scenes of the reunion special, there was an unease lingering in the air, like the kind of quiet that always shows up right before the storm. No one knew that a digital time bomb was about to detonate, and when it did, it wouldn't just shake the episode. It would tear a relationship apart that fans had watched grow, crash, rebuild, and now possibly collapse for good. Chrissy walked in first, poised and polished. Her black satin dress caught the light just right, and her walk had that familiar confidence everyone expected from her. She gave a soft smile to the crew, nodded at the cameras, but anyone paying attention could tell something was off. She had been quieter than usual all morning. Less laughter, more side glances at her phone, more biting her lower lip between makeup touch-ups. She knew something was brewing. She just didn't know how bad it would get. Jim Jones arrived not long after, surrounded by his usual entourage. He looked relaxed, even joking with a production assistant on the way in. But the second his phone buzzed, everything changed. It wasn't just a message, it was a screenshot. Multiple ones. Texts that had been allegedly exchanged between Camron and Chrissy over the past few weeks. Not just old friendly banter either. These messages were deep, personal, filled with phrases like, "I miss our conversations," and "It should have been different back then." The kind of messages you don't want your man reading, especially not minutes before walking on set. One of Jim's closest people tried to grab his attention, but he wasn't hearing anything. He scrolled, scrolled again, face blank, breath shallow. He didn't say a word, just handed the phone back, stood up from the green room couch, and walked straight out of the building. No warning, no heads up to producers, not even a look back at Chrissy. The crew panicked. Walkie-talkies lit up. Producers scrambled to figure out where Jim had gone. Meanwhile, Chrissy, unaware of what had just happened backstage, sat down in her designated reunion chair, waiting for the cameras to roll. When they told her Jim had stepped away, her expression changed instantly. "What do you mean he left?" she asked, her voice starting to shake. No one answered directly. A few nervous glances. Someone handed her a bottle of water. That's when the assistant producer approached and showed her the same screenshots. The moment Chrissy's eyes hit that screen, her hands trembled. "Who sent these?" she whispered. "Anonymous email," the producer replied. "To the whole team. No name." Chrissy's jaw clenched. She stood up slowly, phone still in hand, and walked off stage. Cameras kept rolling, though the show hadn't even officially started. What they caught was Chrissy in real time, unraveling, pacing, calling Jim, straight to voicemail, again, and again, and again. Backstage cast members started whispering. One of the newer girls asked out loud what everyone was thinking. Was she messing with Cam again? The question hovered. No one had an answer, but everyone had an opinion. Because here's the truth. Chrissy and Camron had history. Real history. Way before Jim and Chrissy became the household name they are now. Before reality TV deals and brand sponsorships. Back when it was just late-night parties, flashy dreams, and bad decisions in Harlem. People always talked. People always wondered. But Chrissy had always been ride or die for Jim. Or so everyone believed. The text didn't say they had physically crossed any lines. No plans to meet up, No photos, but the emotional weight of the messages was undeniable. Late-night exchanges, nostalgia, references to private jokes only people with deep history share, and one line that stuck out more than anything else. Sometimes I wonder if I was supposed to be the one standing next to you all this time. When that hit social media, because of course it did, fans exploded. Some defended Chrissy, saying Cam was just stirring the pot. Others dragged her, calling it emotional cheating. Memes flooded timelines. Clips of Jim and Chrissy's engagement were reposted with sarcastic captions like, "Plot twist, she wanted someone else." But what no one knew yet was where Jim had gone. Rumors swirled that he'd driven straight to Cam's spot. Others claimed he was holed up in a hotel, refusing to take calls. The truth was simpler and sadder. Jim had checked into a studio session, blasting old records through the night, ignoring everyone. He didn't want to talk. He wanted to drown. Chrissy, on the other hand, had no choice but to keep filming. The show had to go on, and the cameras were already locked in. But when she returned to set, something was different. Her makeup was the same, her dress still flawless, but her eyes, red, puffy. No sparkle. The host welcomed her back, asked if she was ready to talk. She nodded once, then spoke. "I don't know where Jim is right now," she said, "but I hope he's okay." When asked about the messages, Chrissy hesitated. "Those texts were real," she admitted. "But it's not what people think." Chrissy took a deep breath, eyes locked on the floor. The reunion set around her had gone quiet, like the room itself was waiting to exhale. Cameras were rolling, lights still on, but no one was breathing loud enough to interrupt the moment. She raised her head slowly, wiped under one eye, and finally spoke again. "Yes," Camron messaged me. "Yes, we talked." But it wasn't sneaky. It wasn't a betrayal. Not the way it's being painted. The host leaned forward slightly, voice gentle. "Can you explain what those messages were about?" Chrissy nodded, but her face tensed. "I hadn't heard from Cam in years. Then out of nowhere, he reached out, said he saw me on TV, said he missed how we used to talk back when things were easier, before the world got loud. We were friends once. We went through a lot. And maybe I shouldn't have replied. Maybe I should have shut it down faster. But in that moment, it didn't feel wrong. It felt safe." Someone in the audience gasped quietly. Backstage, another cast member shook her head in disbelief. Social media was already flooding with clips, reactions, fan theories, and wild assumptions. Some believed Chrissy, others called it damage control. Chrissy continued, her voice cracking. "I never met up with him. There was no secret link-up. It was just texting. It started off innocent, and then it got personal. More than I expected. I should have stopped it. I see that now. But I didn't mean to hurt Jim. I swear on everything I love. I never meant to hurt him," the host nodded, solemnly, but then pressed the question everyone was waiting for. "Did you still have feelings for Cam when you were texting him?" Chrissy didn't answer right away. Her silence said enough. The room held its breath. Finally, she whispered, "I didn't think I did. But maybe a part of me missed being seen. Not judged, not handled like glass, just seen." That was the moment the reunion turned into something else. This wasn't just gossip anymore. This was raw pain, the kind you can't stage. And as the camera zoomed in on her tearful face, fans everywhere were already arguing about whether Chrissy had just admitted to emotionally cheating or simply being human. Backstage, other cast members started reacting. Mama Jones, Jim's mother, who hadn't spoken to Chrissy in nearly 3 months, was pulled aside by producers. They asked if she wanted to comment on what was happening. She didn't hesitate. "That girl been holding on to old ghosts," she said. "And now they haunting her?" The line hit social media like wildfire. Old ghosts trended within the hour. Meanwhile, Camron had stayed radio silent since the leak. Not a post, not a tweet, not a comment. Until now, just after Chrissy's reunion segment aired live, Cam posted a photo to his Instagram story. It was an old Polaroid of him and Chrissy back in the day. Laughing, drinks in hand, late-night energy. The caption read, "Funny how history always shows up uninvited." No tagging, no context, just vibes, but it was enough to blow up timelines. Fans flooded the comments with everything from "You're messy AF" to "Bring him to the reunion next year." And then, Jim Jones broke his silence too. He went live on Instagram from a dimly lit studio, cigarette in one hand, looking like sleep hadn't visited him in days. He didn't say much, but what he did say left the internet shaking. Loyalty ain't just about where your body is. It's where your mind goes when I ain't looking. He ended the live after 60 seconds. No responses. No follow-up. Just heartbreak. Back on set, production took a break. Chrissy was escorted back to her dressing room. The host sat in silence, visibly shaken. Everyone on set knew they had just recorded something that would live forever in reality. TV history. Producers debated whether to continue filming or shut it all down, and then the unexpected happened. Jim Jones walked back in. The room froze. He didn't speak to anyone, didn't stop to shake hands or look at cameras. He walked straight onto the set and sat down across from the empty chair Chrissy had been in minutes before. "Bring her back," he said. The host hesitated. "Are you sure?" Jim didn't blink. "I want to talk to her. Right here." A quiet message was relayed through walkie-talkies. Chrissy, who had been halfway into removing her makeup and emotionally checked out, was stunned. "He's here," she whispered. They told her yes, and he wanted to talk. Her hands trembled as they handed her a fresh mic. "What do I even say?" she muttered to her stylist. No one answered. There was nothing left to script. When Chrissy returned to the set, the energy changed. Jim didn't look angry. He looked tired, like a man who had already broken into pieces and was now just trying to decide whether to pick any of them up. She sat down slowly. He didn't speak right away. Finally, he said, "You could have told me." Chrissy nodded. "I know." "You could have shut it down," he said. The second it crossed a line. "I know," she whispered again. "But you didn't." Tears filled her eyes. "I didn't want to lie, but I didn't want to hurt you either. I didn't know it would become what it did." Jim leaned forward. "You want him?" Chrissy's head snapped up. "No." "You miss him?" Her lips parted. "I missed a version of myself." "And me?" Jim asked. "Do you miss me?" Her answer came in a whisper. Every day. The reunion stage went silent again. But this time, it wasn't chaos. It was grief. Grief for trust lost, grief for wounds reopened, grief for love tested in public. And as the cameras continued rolling, no one dared call cut. Because what was happening now wasn't entertainment. It was a reality too real for most to carry. Jim looked down, rubbing his hands together slowly, like he was trying to find the right words by wearing his palms out. Chrissy didn't speak, either. For once, both of them had nothing ready. No rehearsed lines, no cameras in mind, just decades of love, pain, and confusion sitting between them like a third person. "You know what hurts the most?" Jim finally said, voice low. "I ain't surprised." Chrissy swallowed hard. "Jim, no," he interrupted gently. "Let me say it. Because I've had this feeling before. Not with you and him. Just with you and me. Like you've been here, but halfway gone." She looked like he'd slapped her. And in a way he had. "I didn't plan it," she said, voice trembling. "I wasn't looking for anything. I just got lost." He scoffed quietly. "You don't get lost. You leave." The host stayed silent. The production crew behind the cameras didn't move an inch. No direction was given, no prompts needed. They knew they were watching real heartbreak unfold live. "Cam reached out," Chrissy continued, and in that moment, it felt like the past was safer than the present. It's not an excuse, but it's the truth. Jim nodded slowly. "So what now?" That question held more weight than any argument they'd ever had. This wasn't just about a text thread. It was about everything. Years of trying to fit two people with different love languages into a world built on music, money, and chaos. It was about loyalty, forgiveness, and whether or not either of them had anything left to give. Chrissy leaned in. "I love you," she said. "Even when I mess up, even when I question everything, that's the only thing that stays the same." Jim looked up. "Then stop talking to people who make you forget that." There was no clapback, no defense. She simply nodded. The host, seeing a break in the emotional storm, finally stepped in. "Jim," he said softly, "do you believe her?" Jim's eyes met Chrissy's again. "I believe she's sorry," he said. "But sorry don't fix scars." Chrissy's lip quivered. "So are we done?" The silence that followed was suffocating. Then he stood up. "Nah," he said. "We not done. We just bruised." He walked off set again, but this time slower, calmer, not fleeing, just needing space. Chrissy sat there, still crying, but now with something softer in her expression. Hope. Meanwhile, backstage, the fallout continued. Other cast members started taking sides. One former flame of Camron's went live on Instagram, accusing him of intentionally stirring up drama to stay relevant. "He knew what he was doing," she said. "He saw Chrissy getting attention again and couldn't stand it. Men like that can't let go of what they lost." Cam, of course, responded. With a meme, it was a gif of someone throwing a phone into a fire, captioned, "When she still got your number but can't handle the heat." The internet exploded again. And then, out of nowhere, Mama Jones dropped a video. Sitting in her living room, with candles lit in the background, she looked straight into the camera. "I don't care what nobody say," she started. "I never liked that man. Camron always been shady. Always knew how to slide in and break up peace. I told Chrissy once, years ago, be careful who you let back into your spirit. And now look, the fans had a field day. Threads popped up analyzing every old clip of Mama Jones giving Chrissy side-eye every interview Cam had done in the past 5 years, and even conspiracy theories suggesting this drama was all part of a bigger plan. Maybe a future spin-off, maybe a stage setup, maybe realer than any of them expected. But behind the headlines, Chrissy went quiet. No posts, no interviews, no tweets, just silence, until one blurry paparazzi shot surfaced. Chrissy sitting outside a coffee shop, hoodie pulled. Up, no makeup, talking to Camron. The caption said it all. Meeting up again, or setting the record straight. Within an hour, the image was everywhere. Jim saw it too. He posted a song snippet the next day, a raw freestyle filled with bars about betrayal, legacy, and walking alone even when surrounded by love. Fans called it heartbreaking, real, vulnerable, and also, possibly, the end. But that wasn't the full story. Chrissy released a statement through her publicist 2 days later. Short, simple, and straight to the point. "I met with Camron to end all contact. To get closure, I owed Jim that, and I owed myself that." But by then, public opinion was split again. Some said she was being honest. Others said it was damage control. But the truth? It didn't matter what anyone believed. What mattered was how Jim felt. And no one knew for sure, not even Chrissy, until he sent one message, not public, not tweeted, not streamed. Just a simple text, a screenshot that Chrissy herself posted to her. "Story," his message said, "I'm not ready to forget, but I'm still trying to forgive. One step at a time, no heart emoji, no smiley, just honesty." And somehow, that meant everything. Chrissy's post of Jim's text was up for only 2 hours. But it didn't need more than 10 minutes to set social media on fire. Blogs screenshotted it. Gossip pages ran headlines. Fans reposted with captions like, "Real love hurts loud," and "When silence becomes the loudest apology." Even major media outlets picked it up as breaking news, dissecting every word, as if it were a presidential statement. But for Chrissy, it wasn't about headlines. It was about hope. She didn't caption the post. She didn't follow it with a carousel of throwbacks. Just that one text, raw and honest, showing the world that maybe there was a path forward, or at least a willingness to try. Jim, on the other hand, stayed offline. No confirmation, no denial, just the occasional studio check-in post. Fans begged him in the comments to speak, but he didn't. Instead, someone close to him, an insider who had worked with him for years, spoke to a podcast and revealed a different layer to the story. "Jim's not mad that Cam texted her," the insider said. "He's mad that she kept it from him. She's had his back through everything, but the second it got uncomfortable, she leaned on someone else." That shook him more than anything. That quote made its way into the headlines too. And suddenly, fans started asking if this wasn't about betrayal, but about abandonment, emotional neglect, communication breakdown, years of unresolved tension. And then came the second hit. A private voice note leaked. It was Camron, laughing, talking to someone off camera. "I ain't even mean to mess things up like that," he said. "I was just being me." But she responded, bro, like not even hesitant, like part of her was waiting. That leak hit hard, not just for Jim, but for Chrissy, who hadn't expected to have her personal guilt served up to millions like tea. Within minutes, the internet split into chaos again. Some fans dragged Cam for playing with people's lives. Others accused Chrissy of lying. Some turned on Jim, saying he was too cold in the way he was handling her pain. But the worst part? Chrissy hadn't heard the voice note before it leaked. Her reaction was caught on camera. Pure, unfiltered devastation. She was sitting with one of the producers doing a post-interview check-in when they showed it to her. She stared at the screen. Eyes wide, mouth open. "He said that?" she asked. They nodded. Chrissy stood up, walked out. No mic pack removal. No goodbye. That footage never aired, but it was enough for producers to hit pause on the reunion's remaining filming. Everything was now at a standstill. They didn't want to exploit pain, not this time. Because even for reality TV, this was too real. Still, VH1 had a job to do. And so, behind the scenes, they got to work crafting something that could honor the moment, but still move the storyline forward. What they came up with was a new concept, an uncensored, uncut, real-time therapy session between Chrissy and Jim. No audience, no host, just a licensed therapist, 2 chairs, and the mess that remained between them. Both were asked separately if they'd agree. Chrissy said yes immediately. Jim took 3 days, but eventually he agreed. And when the taping began, no one on set breathed too loudly. The room was wrapped in tension. The therapist began with something simple. "Why are you here?" Chrissy answered first. "Because I don't want us to end like this." Jim's reply was harder, slower. "Because I don't want to hate you." The words hit like a hammer. Chrissy started to cry, but held it back. She was done performing. This wasn't for likes or retweets. This was a woman trying to patch something she'd accidentally torn. The therapist guided them through the pain, through the moment Chrissy received Cam's first text, through the first message she replied to, through the day she didn't tell Jim, through the decision to meet Cam just to shut it down, through Jim's silence, through her desperation. But it was Jim's voice that cracked first. "You ever sit next to someone you love and still feel alone?" he asked. "Like you're yelling through your silence, but they too busy to hear it?" Chrissy didn't answer with words. She leaned forward and took his hand. The silence after that was thick. The therapist gave them space. And in that silence, something shifted. They weren't healed, but they were seen. Meanwhile, Cam posted one final note, a black screen. "White letters." "I meant no harm, but maybe some things are better left in the past." He deleted it an hour later, but it was enough to close his chapter. When the therapy episode aired, it broke streaming records for the network. Fans cried. Fans forgave. Fans finally understood. And still, questions lingered. Could Jim and Chrissy survive this? Was trust like glass? Beautiful when whole, but dangerous when cracked? Or were they proving that even in chaos, love could find a way to breathe? Again, after the therapy session aired, everything went quiet for a few days. Not just online, but in real life too. Chrissy didn't post anything. Jim kept his page limited to music promos. Even Camron disappeared from the feed. It was like all 3 of them had stepped back from the noise to breathe. Maybe to reflect, maybe to rebuild, maybe to run. But the fans didn't stop watching. Reactions poured in from all corners of the internet. People who had followed Jim and Chrissy for over a decade shared their heartbreak. Others who had once criticized their on and off relationship now admitted they had seen a side to them that felt painfully human. One comment on the VH1 post summed it all up. This wasn't reality TV anymore. This was a real couple in crisis, and somehow it felt like watching my own past play out. It struck a nerve, and that nerve reached deeper when Chrissy was spotted days later, out in Atlanta. Alone. No ring on her finger. Paparazzi caught the photo. A wide shot. Early morning light. Coffee in hand. Tired eyes. The kind of photo that said everything without saying anything. The headlines were fast and merciless. Chrissy spotted without ring. Split confirmed? Jim goes ghost while Chrissy moves solo. Cam's message broke more than trust. But the real truth was slower, quieter, and much harder to pin down. What fans didn't see was the late-night conversation that took place in a parked SUV just outside Chrissy's building. No cameras, no crew. Just 2 people sitting in silence for 5 minutes before one of them said a word. It was Jim. "You look tired," he said. Chrissy laughed softly. "I am." He looked at her for a long time before speaking again. "I don't know if we can go back." She nodded. "Me either. Another long silence. But, he said, maybe we don't have to go back. Maybe we can go forward different. Those words didn't make it to social media. They didn't become trending audio. But they were real, and they were enough to keep the door open. A week later, Jim posted a black and white photo of him and Chrissy from years ago. No caption, no tags, just memories. Chrissy reposted it with a simple heart emoji. The internet lost its mind. They're healing. They're trying. They're grown. But just when it seemed like things were calming down, another twist surfaced. An anonymous source leaked part of the production notes from the reunion special. The original cut before the messages leaked. It included a scene that had been scrapped entirely. Chrissy planning a surprise vow renewal for Jim. A private segment. No cast, no cameras. Just her and a plan to remind him why they started in the first place. She had written the vows already. They read, in part, "We've been through the fire, but I still choose you. Not because we're perfect, not because it's easy, but because when everything falls apart, you're still the one I want to rebuild with." The internet froze. Fans demanded to know why the scene was cut. VH1 issued a short statement, blaming schedule changes and emotional conflicts at the time. But it was too late. The leak reopened wounds. People begged Chrissy to try again, begged Jim to read those vows, begged Cam to stay out of it forever. A few days later, Jim went live. Again. This time, it was just his voice over a blurred background. "I saw the notes," he said. "I read the vows." Pause. It messed me up. Longer pause. Not because they weren't beautiful, but because I didn't get to hear them from her. Not then. Not when it mattered. He ended the live after 1 minute and 20 seconds. But what happened next surprised even the network, Chrissy responded. Not through a post, not on live, not in a magazine. She asked VH1 to let her film a final message. Just her. One take. No glam, no filters. The network agreed. It aired on a Sunday night. Chrissy sat in a quiet studio. Bare face, hair tied back, hands folded in her lap. "I never wanted our story to become entertainment," she began. But that's what it became. And now, it's here. In front of everyone. She paused. "So I figured, if the world got to see me break, they should also see me speak clearly." She looked into the camera. "Jim, I hurt you. And I own that. I let something emotional cross a line. And I should have told you before you had to find out that way." Another pause. "But the love I have for you, it's still here. Still strong. Still real. And if you ever want to write new vows together, I'm ready." That message closed with no music, no dramatic fade, just black screen. A week passed. No word. Then, on the day the final reunion recap aired, Jim posted a photo. Not of Chrissy, not of the past, but of 2 champagne glasses on a rooftop table. Caption, "New chapter." Chrissy reposted it an hour later with a location tag, Harlem. They didn't confirm anything. They didn't need to. And just like that, the fight, the tears, the messages, and the public spectacle became something else. Not a breakup, not a publicity stunt, but a turning point. One that reminded everyone watching, love isn't perfect. Trust breaks. People fall, but sometimes, just sometimes, they get back up together. They get back up together. And just like that, what started as a leaked message turned into one of the most unforgettable moments in reality TV history. Not because of the scandal, not because of the cameras, but because it reminded everyone watching that even the strongest couples can crumble and still find a way to rebuild. Camron's messages may have cracked open old wounds, but in the end, they forced truths to the surface that had been buried for years. Truths about distance, silence, and emotional need. Chrissy and Jim didn't just survive the fallout, they faced it. And in doing so, they showed millions what real love under pressure looks like. But the story isn't over. Questions still linger. Will trust ever truly be restored between them? Will they keep growing forward? Or will new tests shake their fragile peace? And what about Camron? Is this the last time he'll be part of their narrative? Or is another twist still waiting? In the wings, one thing's for sure, fans are more invested than ever. And now, we want to hear from you. What do you think will happen next between Jim and Chrissy? Was their reconciliation real, or just for the cameras? Should Chrissy have forgiven Jim's silence, or was Jim right to walk away the first time? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you've been riding this emotional roller coaster with us from the beginning, make sure you hit that like button to support the channel, subscribe so you never miss a moment, and turn on notifications because the next episode might just break the internet again. Thanks for watching, and remember, in love and in life, the real drama is never over. Stay tuned.